Sensei J for the Vidyuu YouTube channel. Today in this video, which is the second in the series of the keypad with a stylus, I'm going to show how to change the colors of the buttons, how to move the buttons, how to create haptic feedback in the press, and how to limit the number of digits in the code. Ooh! If you have not watched the first video in this series on how to create the keypad, I would highly encourage you to go and watch that first, then come back and watch this video. I will leave a link in the upper right-hand corner to that video. So I'll be using the Enter button as my example. Here is the Properties panel for that. You will notice that there is a button which is the actual physical cube and text put together into a group, as well as the actual Enter text object itself, which is within the button group. Notice that these are added as items that are available for manipulation in the script. First, I'm going to talk about how to change the color of each of these buttons when they're pressed. What we're going to do is set the button color to white, but the text color to black when the world is started. Then, when the trigger is entered by an object that is tagged pen, I will set the button color to blue. This will set the color of everything within that button group also to blue, so then I will immediately set the text color back to black. Then, I will send a return script back to self after 0.2 seconds, and when that return script is received, then I will go ahead and set the button color back to white, and also that will set the text color to white too, so I will automatically set the text color again back to black. And that's how you change the button color. Very simple. Next, I want to talk about actually moving the buttons. To do that, I'm going to employ a little bit of a trick. You'll notice that I have made these invisible so you can see that there's a button, but also the trigger. And the trigger on the front is in the exact position of the button, but the trigger extends back behind the button. So if I were to move just the button part to the position of the trigger, it would actually push it back a little bit. And that's how I'm going to move that button. Looking at the script that does that, I'm going to start by creating a vector variable called original position, and when the world is started, I will set that to the position of the button. When the trigger is entered by an object that is tagged pen, then what I will do is move the button to the position of self. Remember, this is playing on the trigger over about 1/10 of a second. So that will move the button backwards. Then I'll send a return event back to myself after about 2/10 of a second. When the return script is received, we will move the button back to the original position over about 2/10 of a second. And that is how we get the button to move back and return when it's pressed. Now let's talk about how to get some haptic feedback in the hand that is pressing the button. Again, using the script that's on the Enter button, when trigger is entered by an object that is tagged by pen, we're going to send a query to the pen with self as a parameter. Looking at the script that the pen is running on, you can see that we have some items that relate to the return of the pen if it's let go. However, when the pen is actually grabbed by is right of hand of player, and this is a code that you can find in the Events tab, then I will set a right hand boolean to is right, which means it'll either be true if it has been grabbed with the right hand or false if it has been grabbed with the left hand. I will also set a current player variable to the player ID of the player that grabbed the object. That way, those two items are stored in case that query ever comes. This is relating to the return script. When the query is received with the button as the parameter, we will go ahead and send a handed event back to the button with these two items as the parameters, whether it's in the right hand or not, and the player who currently owns the object. Back in the enter script, when the handed event is received with those two parameters, then if the right hand is true, meaning that it's held in the right hand, then we will play haptic feedback on the right hand of the player that owns the object for 100 milliseconds with strong and sharp haptics. Otherwise, we'll play haptics on the left hand of that player for 100 milliseconds with strong and sharp haptics. And that's how we get haptic feedback based on the hand that is pressing the button. Now I'm going to talk about how to make sure the number inputted does not exceed a certain maximum length. To make this happen, I'm going to open up the script that is running on the display text object. What I've done is I've added an if statement. If the length of the current string is still less than 10, then we'll go ahead and do the things to add another number. But if it's not, then we'll play a sound effect letting the player know that they've reached the maximum length of the string. I'm Jay Haynes for the Vidyuu YouTube channel, and this has been how to create a more effective keypad that will enhance your world. In the next video, I will talk about specific use case scenarios where this can come in handy. In the meantime, do me a favor and like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, clicking the little bell icon for notifications. That way you won't miss any of the latest content regarding Horizon Worlds. Thanks for watching.